Happy Friday, everybody. Or Tuesday? What day is it? It's Tuesday. That's right. And today is one of the biggest days in ETH history. ETH is doing its 2.0 upgrade today. So we're going to go over that real quickly right at the beginning of the show, and then we'll dive into what we see in the markets. But um, good morning, everyone. B. Wellington, what do you got over there?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's been a long time. I feel like I haven't talked to my old buddy Clutch here in a minute,
I
at
know,
least
man.
on the show. But yeah, so one of the things we wanted to cover today, just because we do cover ETH, we do trade it. This is, what I would say part of the fundamental analysis of ETH, right? This is a article that we found this morning. And essentially what the merge is, and it kind of says right here, is that they're going from a proof of work to basically a proof of stake. Proof of work is kind of what you know Bitcoin and is on, and things of that nature. And so it uses a lot more energy. Proof of stake is more climate friendly, things of that nature. But it is a complex process. I mean, as you guys know, Ethereum's you've got Ethereum Classic, you've got those kind of things because ETH does get these kind of upgrades. But yeah, the Beacon, the Bellatrix upgrade is scheduled to happen today, in which the Beacon chain is joined to the Ethereum mainnet. So they're merging these two chains together, right? And scheduled between September 10th and 20th. So this is kind of the beginning of that prior to the final merge. The Bellatrix update for ETH is scheduled today when the Ethereum epoch value is anticipated to rise to 144,896, right? So, I mean, all of this is just trying to get it. One, it's going to reduce supply to a certain extent because it's going to have more ETH that's staked, and it's going to be more climate friendly. This was a big deal between the miners. They voted on it. Some of the miners love it. Some of it don't. Some of them don't. It is a process. It is an upgrade. So I'd be careful with what's going on. But just looking at the price, looks like price is appreciated. Celebrated some of the merge. We have had a little pump over the overnight, starting yesterday, and so hopefully everything goes well there. But for us, we trade the price, and we'll look to see what price does as ETH continues with this upgrade. I mean, it is the second largest crypto that's out there, so anything where you have major changes is going to be significant in the crypto market. So, that's really all I have comment wise on that.
Is
Because
there
we
is
trade
there a
it.
time that this is happening today or not? Or anything
I
that you
think it's
see?
just yeah, I think it's a process, right? So they start linking it back up. I don't think it's a certain time per se. I just think it's a process in which they begin it, and I think it's already begun.
All right.
But on here, it doesn't talk about a specific time, but it does. I mean, completion should be done in the next week or so. And which really makes it funny is that it's all around 20th, which is supposed to be the end when everything's completed,
Let me
is
guess. Let me
also
guess. The Fed is going to release some news at the same time. Is that right?
right.
Are you telling me
That
at
is
the
that
end
is
of this,
all.
coincidence? I don't think so.
We don't think so. So market just opened, so let's go ahead and hop into it. I mean, we're at 1670. We got up to 1680s, I believe, was the peak this morning. 1686. As I'm looking at the chart here, let me expand this. We are on the hourly. We have had a lot of good volume that's come in. So we had some vector, We've just got RSI to the upside, this momentum wave to the upside as well. We've crossed over on the hourly. We've crossed over the
Oh man, I like
200.
that. I like that daily. I like that daily open, bro.
That daily open does look nice. I mean, we're at 1606. We were holding support here for a minute. I mean, we basically were here all weekend into yesterday, and then we actually started to pump. We've got this peak here that was pointed out. We've gone ahead. We've gone through that particular peak. The next peak that we're looking at is going to be here in this area, which is 1716, possibly getting up in that direction. As you know, once we start getting into these where the EMAs start to cross, you ultimately always get a little bit of a pullback for anybody that's going long off of this pump. And so I would expect us maybe to get back up and reach these peaks before we start to have another pullback, or we could start having that right now. I mean, we were at 1686 prior, we're at 1663 right now. And so that pullback may be happening to retouch into this area, but daily open does look good. Uh, and daily open would be basically where the 800 is. It loves to come back to the 800, retap, kind of play around in this area before it either moves back to the upside or breaks down to the downside. I would imagine that we
Booyah!
start getting some break into the downside here pretty quick because we have had a pretty strong move to the upside.
Oh, and if we are talking about movements to the downside, there's a very specific number that I want to just shoot out there to everyone. This is a CME gap that's been open for a while, and it's 1262.
1262. So let's look at that 1262 area. And that is down there.
I know.
These I put out there because that's where I anticipate us to come before we break back down. But let me just remove those out of the way. And yeah, 12, what did you say? 1260?
Yeah, 1262.
Yeah, so I've got a line here at 1285. Not sure what that represents at this point. Oh, that would be the breakout from this original W that we've had. So if we come back all the way down there, basically we would be coming back down into this area in which we launched out of, that caused the big short squeeze up here, come back down and move
And that would form
out.
a really big W, right?
We would form a really big W.
W is
It
for the
takes
win, ladies and gentlemen. W is for the win.
W is for the
Hey,
win.
I mean, we're sitting here expecting that the Fed's going to give us some not so great news next week, don't you think?
Well, I mean, it's in a couple weeks,
In a
but yeah,
couple of weeks, yeah.
no, yeah. So, and we have a lot of vectors to the downside that we haven't recovered. We always come back and touch some of these areas that we originally bust out of, and so I would imagine that we come back down. I mean, I'm anticipating that at some point. The question is, does it want to come? When we get to this peak, right? If we break out of the 1716, which is a possibility that we do, then they're gonna come back up into this area, which is a 2019, which is an area that they pumped up to a couple weeks ago. Uh, you know, they, to possibly retest some of these areas, or right, they're going to come back down to where you talked about that CME gap, retouch, and then possibly move back into that area, or retouch, come back up, and possibly move back down to complete this pattern, kind of on a larger scale down in this area. So key levels that I'd be watching right now: 1716 for the breakout, or 1715 for the breakout to the upside. I would anticipate us getting up to that 2019. If we do break out in that area, probably come back and retouch that 1716, and if we come back out, or we come crashing back down to that 12 area. I think both of those are reasonable situations. You just have to kind of see what the price action looks like when we get into those areas. On the 14-minute, I mean, basically it's going to say the same thing. But we have broken through this peak, which we had at that 1660 area. We really haven't. We're coming back to that, really. 16, what was that peak at? No, 1650 is where that peak's at. So coming back down into this area, so you can see if we start to get some momentum here back to the upside, probably retest this area back up here. We've got a little bit of imbalance, and then we'll just have to see if we then roll back up to that 1716 area. If we do break down, again, look at that daily open right there. If we want to talk about confluence, we've got the 200 on smaller time frames. You've got this low volume node here. We've already broken out of yesterday's high. We've got daily open here. We've also got pivot point here after we've come and kind of hit this M5 area. So M5 would come down to this M1 as well. So that may be a good trade if we really do start to break down, which we're in the first 30 minutes of the market. So still a lot of activity going on. We look at things like the OI, just looking at OI in general. For Ethereum overall, in the aggregate level, we're at 5.5 billion. We've been there for a minute, and as you can see, OI is starting to act in concert with the pricing, which always speaks to it. Not always, I won't say always. Generally speaks to a reversal. So we've had price move up. This is on the 1 hour. Price move up, and we have had OI respond to that. And so ultimately, as you can see, we've got CVD and everything bunched up here. If we start seeing the spot starting to move down, really move down below these areas, then anticipate that all this OI that's been built up will probably come back down, and they'll take out, and this would be the liquidity that they take out, as well. So looking at the traditional markets, like I said, we did just open. We were our futures were about 180. So for the Dow, 30 or 40 for the S&P. So we've actually popped up, but from a futures perspective, we're actually starting to move down. We've got Apple, iPhone, and a lot of that news coming up. So we should see the NASDAQ, if all things there look good, move back up. But right now, market is flat to positive on the upside. But again, it's very early. And we do have a lot of news that's coming out over the next couple weeks to deal with. So, and this is kind of our Monday for the week since late markets were closed yesterday. S&P U.S. Services PMI coming out a little bit later, but let's just look at what a lot of comments. Beige book. We still got Jerome Powell speaking on Thursday, so that should be very interesting. When he speaks, the market listens, and this will be after we've had initial job claims and things of that nature here. So more speak to some of the job. We got consumer credit, which would be important as well. And then moving into next week, then we have CPI and core inflation. So a couple of good weeks of information, and then it doesn't show it here, but the week after is when we have the comments from or the actual Fed meeting as well. So we've got some breakdown here from that area, getting down to the area that we just spoke about. So that 1650 area. We'll have to see how that works, but I'm sure Bookmap and High Block can tell us a little bit more about that. So Clutch,
Well,
what do,
let's just see
what do we
what's
got on your end, buddy?
let's see what we got going on over here. So let me know when you can see that screen.
I can see it. I can see it.
Okay, cool. The side block capital. So as you can see, we're up here at 9.7 billion on the positive side of the liquidation delta. And we haven't quite made it up into this 1725 area, but as B. Wellington mentioned, he definitely did see us maybe getting into that range before we start coming down. And as you can see, we're really starting to build up a bunch of long liquidations, but as you can see, there's a gap right here. So to be honest with you, I think we're gonna probably do just a bunch of ranging kind of right in this area that we're at, but slowly get up into the 1700s before we start seeing price retrace back to some lower levels, and that may be a little later this week. So right now, as you can see, we got 1725. That's a pretty big short liquidation that's out there, but we are starting to get some big boys. 1669, 1652. 1619 for some $70 million liquidations on the long side. So, like I said, I do anticipate we're just going to have kind of a choppy day today based on what I'm seeing here. But if we take this over here to Bookmap, well, hold on, maybe I got to pull it up for you to see it. There we go. All right. Okay, let's see what Bookmap tells us. Okay, this tells me a little bit different story. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, can you see it? Oh, it's still loading now. Okay, here we go. Okay,
I can see it now.
Okay, as you can see, we have this big long-term liquidity, 1700. Okay, so again, that goes in line what we were talking about with high block. However, we did have a large volume come in right here at 1680 for longs, and then we got our nice little purple square, which indicates that a lot of shorts try to come on, and then we started to come down. We're testing the VWAP, but what are you seeing here? You're seeing an order book flip, which is them controlling price down into this range, and we're right here at 1650 is the bottom of the note, and if we break below that 1650, go ahead and expect lower prices. So 1650, which we're approaching right now, we're only about $10 away, is kind of the key area if we're going to continue to break down or we're going to go back up. So pay attention to what happens at 1650 for either a bounce or a breakdown. It'll be one of those two. And but again, like it's probably going to be a little choppy, but I think we might actually be heading down today. I think it's going to be a choppy day, really, but maybe more to the downside. I think,
that,
yeah,
that was very non-committal.
yeah, I know.
I
Anyway,
mean, I like 1700s. You know that looks like a nice area for them to kind of get up to, bust the last of some of these shorts. I mean, we looked at high block. There's a little bit of shorts, but there's more liquidity to the downside. Maybe they come back up, pop the rest of that, and then head to the downside. But I would imagine because of this merge, you've got a lot of people that are going long, thinking that this is going to be it. And so that is what kind of gives me a little bit of a reason to say, okay, they may come back and take out some of those longs. But and it also depends what the general market's going to do, the traditional markets. I mean, we're already negative on the Dow.
I
So,
mean, based on Bookmap, this baby wants to go down. So
yeah. So, I mean, that would be in line. I mean, stocks are down now. They were up early. Ethereum's down off of the highs of the 86 that, the 85, 1685 that it hit. So we'll see. We'll see if this is an early move to kind of get.
come
Yeah, I
on, Barry
never trust
Wellington,
anything that
come on. Are you in a short yet?
I am in a short actually.
Ow!
I'm at a short in that 1650s area on that breakout.
Oh man.
So yeah, so we'll have to see, right? This is going to be a key moment to have to see, but I do like the fact that we did have a little bit of volume that came back up and we immediately pulled that down during the brinks. But I don't trust anything that happens in the first 30 minutes of the market. In fact, I like to counter trade those types of strong movements on the open. And here we are. We got that futures with the move up, and now they're it's starting to sell off, from that perspective. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go to this. I believe we'll move to the downside. Thank you very much. Full commitment right there,
All right,
baby.
you got it right there. You heard it here. We're going down today. B. Wellington said so. Hey guys, we really appreciate you tuning in today. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Until